Most of my work is in open government data, which means the release of data that governments hold for businesses and other organizations to use. And when you do that, for a lot of businesses, data is not a usual resource to use. So in order for me, as I'm a business owner, in order for me to use data, I need to learn what the data exists, and what it means, and I need to think about how can I start using that in my own business processes. And that's not easy because it's not part of my normal role as an entrepreneur. Unless I'm a data company, I don't know what to do with data. So there's a learning curve, and at the same time, maybe not all the data that I would need exists. So it's a path of exploration, and that's pretty hard, especially here in Malaysia, where 92% of companies are small companies and SMEs. You probably don't have the time as an entrepreneur to figure out how to do that. So that keeps people back to use data for business predictive analysis, and it probably takes service providers that help single entrepreneurs and small entrepreneurs to actually do that. Sharing data, collecting data and sharing it, and privacy, we tend to treat them as two separate things, but that will not give us a solution. Only when we treat them as the same thing, and we do it by design, that whenever we create data, let's say inside government processes, and with the aim of publishing it later, we also need to take into account all the privacy issues. Now, historically, personal data protection regulations start from the notion that if you don't share it, there is no issue. So regulations tend to be a little bit backwards in time. The new situation where digitization makes it possible to very easily share and combine all kinds of data sets do not fit with current privacy regulations. That will be the biggest ethical discussion of the coming 5-6 years, I suspect. And the only way forward is treating openness and privacy as something that you need to take into account when you are designing information processes, when you're designing data structures. And right now we're always doing that at the end of our information processes. So basically we're dealing with privacy and openness too late. What I always find interesting looking at how data is being used is I look at the smaller stories, because the big companies, they already have been doing data analysis for lots of years, and digitization and open data just makes it a lot easier for them to do that. But the interesting impact is what happens now that data is also becoming available to everyone, citizens, civil society organizations, smaller businesses that did not have access to those type of tools beforehand. So I'm much more focused on the smaller impacts. And there you see a lot. We know that in Europe, small and medium-sized enterprises grow 15% faster when they have free access to geographic data, for instance, to help make their decisions. We see a company in the Netherlands that's in the same building as where I am based. They use data to speed up the process of planning infrastructure projects, including the engagement with citizens that are filing complaints. And they reduce the whole process to plan an infrastructure project with all the sort of engagement with citizens around it from months to weeks. And that's a big gain both for citizens because they see more clearly how they can deal with government. It's a gain for government because planning procedures are shorter. And it's a gain for companies because they can build quicker. And so I'm interested in those smaller stories much more than in the big impact, because ultimately the sum of all those small impacts is much bigger than whatever one big company could do with the data.